Have you ever wanted to be afraid of walking outside because a bear, goat, or cow might fall from the sky and kill you? Well, I've got the perfect wiki page for you, you masochist. These are the recent highlights of the list of unusual deaths. In June 2016, Lottie Michelle Belk was walking down Virginia Beach when she was impaled in the chest by a flying umbrella. In March 2015, Stefan Woyak was leaving flowers at his mother-in-law's grave when her tombstone fell over, crushing him to death in front of his wife. In November 2014, Gary Anderson was talking to a coworker through the window of his car on a sidewalk when a construction worker 50 stories above him accidentally dropped a 1-pound tape measure, which ricocheted off a slanted piece of metal on the ground and hit Mr. Anderson square in the head, killing him. Mike Edwards died when driving his van on the street and a bale of hay rolled off a nearby hill and crashed into his vehicle. A 39-year-old mother of 4 died by electrocution when walking down a sidewalk and stepping into what seemed like a normal shallow puddle, but unfortunately contained a somehow plugged-in hot plate that someone had left there. 35-year-old musician Chemistry died in a car when a vehicle ahead of them somehow dislodged one of the cat's eyes from the road, which flew directly through her head, killing her. In October 1988, a poodle named Catchy fell 14 floors, landing on and killing Marta Espina. As a result, a woman named Edith Sola froze in the middle of the street in shock from witnessing the event. She was hit by a bus and died. Then, a man who witnessed both events had a heart attack, dying en route to the hospital. The next few didn't have the same chain reaction, but were still caused by falling animals. Starting with a goat that jumped off its owner's apartment building, falling onto and killing a 13-year-old boy walking on the sidewalk below. In 2013, a cow fell through a 45-year-old man's roof while he was sleeping, landing on him and obviously killing him. The belief is that the cow climbed up from a nearby steep hill onto the roof. The man's wife, who was sleeping next to him, survived, as did the cow. Lester Clayton died by falling bear when he and his hunting party chased a bear up a tree. One of the hunters shot the bear, which fell out of the tree and onto Lester, killing him. A particularly disturbing set of unusual deaths come from varying forms of bestiality. Starting in 2014, when a 52-year-old man was attempting bestiality with a sow and was attacked and killed by the sow instead, mutilating the man's genitalia and limbs as well. In 2008, a 43-year-old woman died from an allergic reaction after committing bestiality with a German Shepherd. And in 2005, a man died from bestiality with a horse in the impossible direction. 2 people have died from flying their own miniature remote-controlled aircraft into their own bodies. How many people do you think have been stabbed to death by a chicken wielding a knife? Shockingly, the answer is at least 2. Both obviously happen during cockfights, where the chickens often have knives attached to their limbs. 2 people have recently died from swordfish impalement, which is rarer than you might think. First, a surfer while they were surfing, and a fisherman who had managed to harpoon the swordfish but got impaled while reeling it in. A lot of people unfortunately have died by elephant, both in historic times as a form of capital punishment, as well as more recently in countries like India just by wild elephants. But there are 2 elephant deaths that are unusual for different reasons. The first happened in 2016 when a 7-year-old girl was visiting a zoo with her family, and one of the elephants picked up a stone with its trunk and hurled it at her head, killing her. The second happened 3 years ago. A 68-year-old woman named Maya Murmu was tragically trampled by an elephant. The strange thing, however, is that at her funeral, what those present claim was the same elephant showed back up and attacked her corpse, picking it up out of the coffin and throwing it around. 2 people have died from falling down onto upward-facing knives in their dishwasher. Giacomo Chiapparini, a 74-year-old cheesemaker, was crushed to death under an enormous pile of cheese while performing an inspection at his warehouse. Julian Knott, another 74-year-old but a balloonist, was experimenting with his newly built, highly experimental, high-altitude balloon. And after landing this experimental, high-altitude balloon safely, he got out and walked around, and then got back in, and it immediately rolled down the hill he had landed on, killing him. 13-year-old Karen Beer Chima died when a fellow classmate threw a piece of cheese at him, causing an allergic reaction. And just imagine being the kid who threw that piece of cheese. Denver St. Clair died from an atomic wedgie given to him by his stepson during a fight, who served 30 years in jail for it. A relatively famous incident, Jimmy Hesselden, owner of Segway Incorporated, died by accidentally riding his Segway off a cliff. In August 2010, someone managed to sneak a small crocodile onto a passenger jet. The crocodile escaped mid-flight, causing everyone to panic and rush to the front of the jet. The resulting weight distribution made it impossible for the pilot to control the aircraft, and it crashed, killing all but one of the passengers, and the crocodile, which also survived. Brian Wells died from an exploding bomb collar around his neck as part of a plan to rob a bank. Bernd Brands died voluntarily at the hands of someone he met online and asked to kill and eat him. Before killing him, however, they first chopped his penis off and cooked and ate it together. The killer cannibal was eventually arrested. The Great Molasses Flood, which is exactly what it sounds like, killed 21 people and injured 150 others when a vat containing over 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst, flooding the local city streets. The locals still claim on hot days the town smells like molasses. Frank Hayes, a 22-year-old jockey from New York, died of a heart attack mid-race. After he collapsed onto his horse, though, it just kept going and he actually took first place. Michael Malloy was tragically the victim of an assassination as part of a life insurance fraud scheme. However, the group, I repeat, group of 5 people doing the assassinating had to try a comically large number of times before succeeding. Over the course of 2 months, they added antifreeze, turpentine, horse liniment, and finally rat poison to his alcohol, but Malloy drank it all and had no problems whatsoever. They then tried wood alcohol, expired oysters, and a sandwich made of expired sardines and shrapnel, none of which did anything more than give him a mild upset stomach. The group then tried to freeze him to death, and when that failed, they ran him over twice with a taxi, from which he recovered, before finally they just knocked him out and connected a hose from a coal gas jet to his mouth, which caused death from carbon monoxide poisoning. 16-year-old Jonathan Kaplan died from excessive deodorant use, building up a toxic amount of butane and propane in his bloodstream. And finally, Robert Williams became the first person to technically be killed by a robot when he was struck in the head by a robot arm in the factory where he worked. Those are the highlights of this absolutely insane wiki page. Thank you so much for watching.